Hello, this is Good Morning Transfers. The Benjamin Sesko transfer saga looks to be coming to a close as the forward lands in the UK ahead of his Manchester United medical. What will his arrival mean for Rasmus Hojlund? As one comes in, could it be one out? Manchester United slap a £50 million price tag on Alejandro Garnacho. Liverpool are preparing to face Crystal Palace in the Community Shield this weekend. We'll be hearing from Arne Slot very shortly. We'll see what he has to say about links with Alexander Isak. And it's been a busy summer for Andoni Iraola. News on Dango Ouattara's future is coming up. It is great to have you with us this morning. Welcome to Rob Onshaw and Mark McAdam, who are with us for the next hour, and they've come dressed identically as well, which is great to see.
We got the memo.
Very much so. Well, let's get stuck into it, lads, because let's start with Manchester United, whose summer spending will go past £200 million once Benjamin Sesko's deal goes through. Mark, bring us up to speed. How close are we to Benjamin Sesko becoming a Manchester United player?
Just a matter of time now. Good morning, everyone. This is a huge deal, isn't it, for Ruben Amorim? They were in the market for a number 9. They wanted to completely revitalise that front three, and he certainly got his wish. What we know is that Benjamin Sesko, with his agent Elvis, flew into the UK last night, and the medical is due to be happening today and possibly into tomorrow. We know that the deal that was agreed was £66.3 million as a guaranteed payment, with add-ons that could be reaching up to £7.37 million. You can see the private jet arriving in the UK there, those pictures as he landed on British soil for the first time. It has been somewhat of a saga. Newcastle fans were hoping that he would be going to the North East after their bid was actually more than Manchester United's, which is quite remarkable. United really comfortable and happy with the fee that they have agreed. Our colleague Sky in Germany is saying he's going to be signing a 5-year contract, but when you see shots of planes landing, you know it's only a matter of time now before we get that official confirmation. And you can see from Manchester United's top record signings that Benjamin Sesko would go into the top 5 when this deal gets confirmed. So you can see, again, with the 3 players that have been highlighted, Ruben Amorim not only revitalising that front three, but he's spending a lot of money to do it. And that's what makes this summer quite remarkable, because Manchester United don't have European football, but yet they're still able to attract some of the best players from the Premier League and European football.
Mark says remarkable there. How impressed and surprised have you been by what Manchester United have been able to do this summer? Because when they lost that Europa League final to Spurs, it felt all doom and gloom. Well, in the space of pretty much 60, 70 days, they've completely rebuilt their front line.
I think it's actually great business. And what I'm impressed with is how quick they've done it also, because literally this is probably going to be their front line, and obviously including Bruno Fernandes in that situation as well. But I think it's great business. I think I like this signing. Looking at it more, I think he just fits Manchester United. He fits who they brought in. Bournemouth, different. Cunha, different to that as well. And then Sesko now is going to be that striker, that goal scorer. And he is a goal scorer. He loves to score goals. He loves to be on the end of things. That's why he's different to the others. Fernandes, Cunha and Bournemouth, creators more than goal scorers. But he's the one that's going to be right there scoring goals. And I feel like he's going to do that at Old Trafford.
And Sesko's imminent signing will raise questions over Rasmus Hojlund's future at the football club. It's understood United would consider offers of around £40 million for the player. AC Milan understood to be interested in doing a deal for Rasmus Hojlund. Rob, as a striker yourself, do you feel sympathy for Rasmus Hojlund? Because he's had 2 years, he's just 22 years of age, and he's not had things that have gone his own way at United. And now it feels like his time there may be coming to an end.
Yeah, it's difficult for him because it's obviously a big move, Manchester United. But he's also had the opportunities as well. I think what's happened is he's not been ready for it. I think that's because he's a good player. Yes, he can score goals sometimes. But I think when I look at him, I just think he's not quite the finished article himself. I just mean in his craft as a forward player. his movement, his scoring goals, his understanding the composure that you need to finish. He's not quite been there. So that's why it's been difficult for him. He's not delivered. And yes, I do feel for him, of course, because I think he's going to go on to score goals and be a good player. But unfortunately, Sesko coming in says you're maybe ready to move on.
And Manchester United's focus right now is on finalising that deal for Benjamin Sesko and on player sales. They're expecting formal offers for Chelsea target Alejandro Garnacho later in the window, and the price tag they put on the winger is around £50 million. Mark, it's clear that United need to ramp things up when it comes to departures now.
Yeah, obviously they've had a significant outlay, haven't they, over the course of the summer. So therefore, you'd imagine that they'd want to recycle some money, bring some money in and make their net spend over the course of this summer a lot smaller than it currently is. Like you've rightly said, it's our understanding that £50 million is the fee that will get Alejandro Garnacho. We know that there are sides in Europe that like the player, but whether they'll be able to get to that kind of money, it feels unlikely. And he's also said, I want to stay in the Premier League and I want to continue my journey in this country. So it leaves very few opportunities for clubs. We know that Manchester United and Chelsea have been in dialogue throughout the course of this summer. Go back to one interesting quote from Ruben Amorim, who said, it's clear Garnacho wants a different thing with a different leadership. So, yeah, only a matter of time really before someone comes up with the goods that Manchester United wants and he leaves this summer. We know that Chelsea is the most likely destination, and he is one of what Manchester United were hoping would be 5 outgoing sales this summer.
And this will be pure profit if they get £50 million for him. Do you think that would represent good value? Would he be a good fit at Chelsea?
He would be a good fit because I think if he goes to Chelsea, the way he moves, the way he is, that wide player, something a little bit different to what Chelsea have already. I think he'd be a great fit. 50 million, I think would be great business for him, for Chelsea, actually for Manchester United, because like we said, they spent a lot of money this summer. They're going to need now, with Sesko coming in, they're going to need to bring in the money. But I think he fits for Chelsea. I think it'd be a great move for him. And I think it's needed also because you look at Garnacho, it was a disrupted season with Manchester United last season. Great moments, but a little bit of indiscipline, especially off the pitch. That's why he was, Ruben Amorim was unhappy with him and didn't play him in some games. But I think he needs a new challenge.
Mark, how difficult is it for United to sell players and get the money they want for players in this transfer window when it's clear they are up for sale and it's clear they do need to make sales to fit within PSR?
Yeah, I think Manchester United, and you mentioned PSR, and rightly so, they have to balance the books and respect the rules like everyone else. But ultimately, PSR windows are done from the 1st of July to the 30th of June. So in theory, Manchester United don't have to sell anyone this summer, depending on their financial situation, but they may have to sell someone by the end of June next year. So that leaves them this summer, January transfer window and the start of the window next summer to make sure they respect the rules and balance the books. So that's important to point out. They're under no pressure as such. And because they're not in European competition, it doesn't mean they have to worry about FFP, which is UEFA's financial rules. The Premier League's is PSR, and they're very similar but different as well. So, teams in Europe have to respect 2 sets of rules for the same thing. But we know that they are trying to sell players and we know that they are trying to generate income as well through this. Alejandro Garnacho probably represents their best opportunity to make a big chunk of cash. We know that Marcus Rashford has gone on loan to Barcelona, so that option that exists in that 30 million may or may not be going to Manchester United. And the same with 2 or 3 other players that they're trying to sell. So it'd be interesting to see how this one develops. But yet, clearly Manchester United do want to have a stronger net spend, so that means generating those sales. OK, we wait to see what happens with Alejandro Garnacho. But as we know, strikers are in demand this summer. A number of big money moves already. Could be more to come. What does the future hold for Chelsea's Nicolas Jackson? Mark, who's interested in signing him? Because he seems to be a player of real interest. Yeah, there's a number of teams that are interested in signing him because he's one of those rare players. He's a number 9. He's just scored goals in the Premier League. He's played at a big club, so understand the rigours of that and the pressure that comes with that. So therefore, there are a number of sides saying, well, actually, we're losing out on options. Victor Gyökeres is gone. Benjamin Sesko's gone. There's other players that have moved on. Hugo Ekitike. So the options that were there at the start of the transfer summer have now disappeared. So therefore, the value of players like Nicolas Jackson, who we understand to be available this summer, goes actually into that next level of price bracket because, well, if you don't want to buy him, who else are you going to buy? So actually, we can say what we want because we know you need him. AC Milan, Bayern Munich, Juventus, all interested, all made inquiries to Chelsea, all had a conversation with his representatives. So we know that there are dialogues happening behind the scenes with the right people about this. Obviously, João Pedro, Liam Delap going into Chelsea means that game time's probably going to be limited. We know that Chelsea's valuation is 80 to 100 million, and that's based on market prices. You look at the price that Hugo Ekitike went to Liverpool for, you look at the price that Šeško's gone to Manchester United, and they're saying, well, hang on, this is a guy that just played 2 years in the Premier League, the most difficult league in the world to score in. His numbers are pretty solid. He's at a good age. We paid £35 million for him. We believe he's worth this amount, so therefore they can demand whatever they want. Be interesting to see what happens. We know that Newcastle United have had a passing interest in Nicolas Jackson, but whether or not Eddie Howe feels he's the right man to go into that football club is another question. But Chelsea, at this moment in time, with 25 days left in the window, can put the valuation, the price tag on the player that they deem fair, and then it's up to someone else to try and negotiate and find a way to get him through the door.
Robert, it is a hefty valuation, but there are some big clubs interested. Is he at that level? You look at that fee, or is it a case that, as Mark's saying as well, there is a real dearth of number nines and proven goal scorers?
I think it's definitely more that there's a lack of number nines because most of them are already gone, especially the high value ones. Is he at that level? I don't think he's at the world-class level, but he's a very good player. He's a very good forward. I like things about his game. And he's one of those that he could fit into a lot of teams. You know, the way he stretches the pitch, the way he's aggressive. He's kind of fearless in a way, you know, and he can score goals. So he's done that for 2 years in the Premier League. We know that. I think he fits the likes of a Newcastle because obviously if Isak then goes, they're going to need to replace him. So he fits somewhere like that. So value-wise and positional-wise, I think there's going to be a lot of interest. But I think he's still got levels to reach. I think he still can tighten up his game.
OK, we wait to see what happens with Nicolas Jackson. But on the way, we'll be hearing from the Liverpool boss, Arne Slot, who's speaking to the media right now at the Community Shield on Sunday against Crystal Palace. Hi there, welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. Liverpool play Crystal Palace at Wembley on Sunday in the Community Shield. Arne Slot has been speaking to our reporter, Vinny O'Connor.
Arne, first of all, obviously our hearts have gone out to you all through such a difficult time. Fittingly, there'll be more tributes to Diogo at Wembley. He was such a lovely lad. How have the tributes that have gone before as well impacted you guys here?
First of all, the tragedy impacted us, of course, most. But again, it impacted far more his wife, children, parents. But it impacted us definitely as well. And the tributes that have been done since were all very emotional and impressive. So every time we were somewhere, started off, I think, in Preston and in Asia as well, it's been emotional but impressive as well.
We obviously now look towards the game at the weekend, but also look at things off the field because Darwin, it seems, is on his way out. Can you give us your thoughts on his departure, how necessary it will be to replace him, and could his replacement be Alexander Isak?
These are a lot of questions. As you know from me, and I think every manager works like this, you never talk about players that are not yours. So I can talk to you about Hugo, which we signed recently and has done really well till now. We are very happy with the squad we are having. And there's every reason to be happy about that because we won the league last season. Okay, players left, but we've brought players in as well. And youngsters are doing good. So at this moment of time, Darwin might leave indeed, but things are not signed yet, so you need to wait maybe a few days before that's completely. There is indeed a chance that he's going to leave.
I think there will be more incomings between now and the end of the transfer window, though, because I appreciate that Ryan, Andy Robertson, and Endo can all play at centre half, but it appears that you could also still do with a centre half. Do you feel you need to bring in another option at centre half as well?
No, what you just said, they can definitely play there as well. And you forget to mention Joe Gomez. Unfortunately, he has a minor injury at the moment, but he will be back with the team very soon. So we still have numerous options that can play there. But as always, what I always say, it's the same boring answer as with players that we might bring in or not. I'm really happy with the players we are having, and we have numerous players that can play in that position.
And a chance now to win your first trophy of the season.
Yeah, which is nice if you can start a season with the chance of winning something, because normally you have to play numerous games before you can win something. If it's the League Cup, FA Cup, let alone Premier League or Champions League, normally you win something in the end of the season. And now we have a chance to win something in the beginning of the season. Unfortunately, we face a very good Crystal Palace that have been very difficult to win against for us, because we played 1-1 against them in the last game of the season, and they showed in the last final and in the semi-final, by the way, as well, how hard it is to win a one-off game of them. So I think most of the players that they have are still there. So yeah, even more reason to know what a difficult team it is to play against.
Hey Arne, what did you learn from your last trip to Wembley? Obviously it didn't end with a trophy, but I'm just wondering, how does this link to this one, and are you looking back to what happened against Newcastle?
Not looking back, because it's a different system that Newcastle is playing, but maybe the way Newcastle played that final could be quite similar to the way Palace might play this final. So Newcastle used almost every free kick they got, no matter where it was on the pitch, to bring it into our box, and that's a style of play Palace also uses. So they also like to bring the ball out from the back, but they also are a threat in set pieces and long throw-ins and all these kind of things. So there are maybe a few overlaps. Is that the way you say? Yeah, overlaps between the two teams, but I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But Newcastle was going man v man all over the pitch, high up the pitch, high press normally, but maybe they will change it for tomorrow. Crystal Palace goes to a low block and defends in and around their own 18-yard box, and that is for every team very difficult to find gaps and to create your chances. So goals are in every game very important, but I think on Sunday one goal is worth a lot.
There's a lot of excitement around 16-year-old Rio Undamola at the moment, and he was on the score sheet. Anfield got an assist as well. How do you as a manager go about supporting him, I guess, because there's already such a spotlight on him at such a young age?
Yeah, and that is sometimes also difficult, and you never know how an individual handles that situation. But it was a year ago when Trey Naoni scored a goal, I think against Sevilla, when he was also maybe 17, very young. So they have an incredible chance to work and be around players like Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah and all these others, to see what they do, to be ready to perform every 3 days. And that is a step these players definitely have to make, which is completely normal. If you're 16 or 17, it's already nice if they can play once a week at a good level. And we just try to develop them in the best way we can, but we also have to take care of them, because new players that come in that are 24, 23, 22 already experience that the intensity levels are quite high, either during the games or in training sessions, let alone for players that are 16 and coming through the academy. So we are aware of that, but it's been a promising start for him, like for Trey Naoni as well, because I think Trey also played a very good game at Anfield 3 days ago. Yeah, 3 days ago.
Arne, good to see you. Just picking up on what you were talking about Sunday, you've played a lot of different teams in pre-season, but are Palace actually, the perfect opponents to set you up for the season? Such a mature side, set style of play. They'll threaten you in multiple different ways.
Yeah, that last thing they indeed do. Counter attacks, set pieces, long ball to Mateta. So they have also the individual quality of their forwards who can create out of nothing something. So. Very good team, and it indeed gives us, but that's I think what Bilbao did and Milan also already did as well, and the Japanese team, by the way, also gave us a lot of competition. So, and that's definitely what Palace is going to do because they kept their team together. So they just hit the ground running again, probably after being a few days off, and it's still the same team. So a team that performed really well, especially in the end of last season, and a good challenge for us to start the season with.
And considering how much you had to acclimatise to last summer and how late players arrived, just how valuable from a coaching point of view have you found this pre-season?
That's completely true. The good thing about last season was that the whole squad stayed, so they knew each other very well already. Now a few players have left. We brought a few players in, so that always takes a bit of adaptation as well, because the players we've brought in, some of them have different qualities than the qualities we already had. So they need to adjust to their new teammates, but we have to adjust to them as well. And it's a good thing we could have worked already for 4 weeks now, I think. So that's the pleasing part of not having a World Cup or another tournament in the summer, that you can work with them from the start.
Hi Arne, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the attacking depth of the squad. First out of the season. Last year in the Premier League, you were able to name 5 senior attackers in 32 of the 38 league games and 6 senior attackers in 13 of the 38 league games. I wonder what importance that depth, not only on the pitch but on the bench, had to the success last season, and are you trying to replicate it again this year?
I don't know what senior players exactly means. Does that mean that you play for your country or you have a certain age, or because a player like Rio showed in the last few games he played for us that at senior level he can have an impact as well. So we think we already have a lot of attacking power in our team. So when I think about Cody Gakpo, Federico Chiesa, Hugo Ekitike, Mo Salah, Jeremy Frimpong, who can play as a right winger, Florian Wirtz, who can play as a left winger. So I already feel I have a lot of attacking options in my current squad. But as always, as a club, we are always looking at the chances in the market. But that can also be in the midfield or in the last line.
Also, with obviously last season Mo Salah being so consistent in his appearances, it didn't really give a lot of opportunities for someone like a Chiesa. This year, obviously, we've got the African Cup of Nations coming, so there's going to be a little bit of a time when Mo Salah isn't around. Are you going to be thinking about that in terms of squad building and recruitment, or does, as I say, this give more opportunity to someone like Chiesa?
Yes, we definitely thought about that, and we brought in Jeremy Frimpong because we think he can play as a right fullback, but I also think and feel he can play as a right winger. So yes, we did thought about the fact that we're going to miss Mo. I think as a maximum 6 games, but that's quite a lot in the Premier League, especially if you see how well he did last season. So yeah, signing Jeremy Frimpong was for multiple reasons, but one of them was also that he could replace Mo if Mo is not there, but there are other options for me to replace Mo with as well. But Jeremy is definitely one of them.
Sorry. Alexis McAllister is behind the group.
He will be in the squad. Yeah.
Is he going to be okay? How far away is he behind, say, Szoboszlai?
He only played. He was out for 2 months, I think, or longer, because we didn't play him in the last 4 games of the season. He trained with us since a week now. Played 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So that's not a situation where you would start a player or play him for 90 minutes. Starting is possible, but that definitely not for 90 minutes.
Now, on the way, could Aston Villa's John McGinn leave the club this summer? 2 clubs after him. Details in a few minutes' time. Hi there, welcome back. Time now for our transfer update. Benjamin Sesko will have a medical at Manchester United today. The striker arrived in Manchester last night after United and RB Leipzig agreed a £74 million deal, including add-ons. As for outgoings at Old Trafford, Manchester United want £50 million for Alejandro Garnacho. Chelsea are keen to sign the player before the window closes. Now, we've just heard from Arne Slot in the last few minutes. Liverpool are in the market for an attacking player once Darwin Núñez's move to Al Hilal goes through. AC Milan, Juventus and Bayern Munich have all explored the conditions of a deal for Chelsea striker Nicolas Jackson. Tottenham are interested in Como attacking midfielder Nico Paz. PSG and Bournemouth are in advanced talks over a deal for defender Ilya Zabani. Aston Villa considered John McGinn not for sale after rejecting an £18 million offer from Everton. And West Ham have agreed an £18 million fee for Leicester goalkeeper Mads Hermansen. He's set to have a medical later today. Don't forget, you can keep across all the latest information as it happens on our dedicated Transfer Centre blog. Just scan the QR code on your screen now. Now, before the break, we heard from Arne Slot. He refused to talk about non-Liverpool players when asked about Alexander Isak. He said he's very happy with the squad, but he did admit Darwin may leave, though things are not fully signed just yet. What's the very latest when it comes to Darwin's potential move away from Anfield?
Yeah, well, this is very much in the players' camp at the moment. It's obviously a big decision for him to decide if he wants to join Saudi Pro League side Al Hilal. We know the deal has been agreed between the 2 parties. It's going to be a guaranteed fee of €53 million, which could potentially get to €65 million, depending on performance-related add-ons. So, once again, Liverpool doing exceptional business with selling players. You look at Luis Diaz going to Bayern Munich and Darwin Núñez going to Al Hilal, and that's going to be around €120 million, depending on add-ons, which is significant, which shows just how well run they are and how clever they've been, and the fact they've already reinvested that money into players that they've signed. Be interesting to see what Darwin's situation is, because he is very much in talks with Al Hilal at the moment. It pretty much looks like it's all agreed and sorted, but until we get that official confirmation, he could yet decide this isn't the right move for me. But it certainly is heading in the right direction.
So, Rob, Diaz out, Núñez out, Ekitike and Wirtz in. Do they need Alexander Isak as well?
I think I was talking about it yesterday. If Liverpool want to go to that next level, yes, absolutely. And I think they are. I think they're ready. They just won the Premier League, but I also think they're targeting the Champions League as well. And a little bit of disappointment from their kind of run, because I think they were one of the favourites last season, didn't manage that. If Isak comes in, it puts them right to the top of the list, one of the big favourites for the Champions League. I think that's the next chapter. Do they want him? Do they need him? Yeah, absolutely. He is one of the very best. I consider maybe him, Haaland, Kane, but Isak is right there as one of the world-class forwards. I think for any team, he would take them to that next level.
Arne Slot was also asked about signing a centre-back. He said he wanted to focus on the options he currently has, accepting that Ryan Gravenberch, Andy Robertson and Endo could all feature at centre-back if required. He also admitted that Jeremy Frimpong is an option to replace Mohamed Salah on the right flank when he plays at the African Cup of Nations. Mark, you covered this transfer, Frimpong to Anfield. Does that surprise you at all that he is going to be considered as a right-back and as a right winger as well?
No, he's played that role, predominantly as a right wing-back, but he can also play at right-back, although that's not really his position. And operating in those advanced areas as well is probably where you're going to get the best out of Jeremy Frimpong. As you've touched upon, Liverpool don't just want to go and win the Premier League, they want to go and win the Champions League. And if you go to the latter stages of that competition, you're going to play 14, 15 games, give or take. As well as Premier League matches, League Cup matches, FA Cup matches. You're going to need a deep squad that's capable of competing. So therefore, they need 2 quality players in every position. They know they're going to lose Mo Salah. Jeremy Frimpong was really sensible business because he had a release clause at €35 million and he was exceptional last season. So it was a a no-brainer of a deal to do. So therefore, it makes sense, really. And he gives them that versatility, which is something Arne Slot wants from all of the signings he's made. He wants players that can play in multiple positions. And Jeremy Frimpong will certainly do that. Conor Bradley will probably be the right back, but they do have options as well, which I think is key moving forward.
Rob, do you think they need to sign another centre-back? Jarrod Quansah went for big money to buy Leverkusen, so does it feel like they're a little bit short? It's tough to break in with the centre-backs, Konate and Van Dijk, but do you think, with that in mind, wanting to win every competition they play in this season, they could do with it with a little bit more there? Mark Gay was a player that's been linked.
Yeah, listen, Gay is the one that I think of straight away. But I think with Liverpool, Kirkes has come in. Konate and Van Dijk, those two are solid. But I think nobody's replacing Van Dijk. He's too good, too special. But Konate is the other one because sometimes he misses games. And somebody to maybe sometimes give Van Dijk a little bit of a rest sometimes. So they've got so many games. But I think they do because they've heavily put so much money in the forward line. I think maybe one kind of defender would be more ideal for them because they're going to have so many games. You know, you need sometimes to when you have an injury to mix it up.
OK, we wait to see what Liverpool do in the rest of this transfer market. Now, developments involving John McGinn, who's not for sale after Aston Villa rejected an £18 million offer from Everton. Mark, just bring us up to speed on this. He's not going anywhere, is he?
Well, it certainly doesn't look like it. And if you speak to anyone at the top of Aston Villa, they'll say not for sale. Club captain. Absolutely no chance. We don't want to lose him. He's going into the final 2 years of his Aston Villa contract. We know how important he is to Unai Emery and that team. Not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. He's an exceptional captain, exceptional leader, and someone that really brings and gels that dressing room together. But you can understand why there is interest in a player of his calibre and quality. David Moyes loves his leadership skills. Loves his experience and, of course, that versatility because he can play in multiple positions as well. So that's why there is that attraction to someone who I guess they maybe felt like they could tease out of Aston Villa. We know that Aston Villa have to be respectful and mindful of FFP and PSR at the moment as well because of their current situation. And maybe there will be one or two clubs that just try and tempt them with an offer. He is 30 years old. Now, he's not got a huge resale value, although we've been saying for years that resale value doesn't exist. Look at Sonny going to LAFC for £20 million at 33. So, you know, if you're the right type of player, you've got the right type of global profile, there is still value there.
There's still value there. You know, John McGinn's an interesting one because this is my take on it. Everton have gone in and said, listen, would you take 18 million? I think if they up it, there'll be more of a discussion because he's a quality player, quality leader, fits Everton perfectly. Does 30 million tempt you? I think there'll be more conversations with that.
It's amazing to think he signed for Aston Villa as a 23-year-old under Steve Bruce in 2018. They could be tempted by a higher fee, but you can understand why Aston Villa don't want to let him go. He's so integral for that dressing room and on the pitch, a brilliant player as well. Yeah,
he's excellent. What you're going to get from McGinn is absolute heart, quality at the right time, leadership, but also I think he's underrated in terms of he's all round. He's tackles, he's creating, you'll give the pass before the final pass. You know, so he adds so much to a team, and of course Aston Villa is not going to want him to leave. Absolutely not. Maybe the right price, they might look at it, but as footballing wise, no chance. I don't think he actually leaves. But there'll be some discussions and temptation for sure if the price goes up higher.
I think there's a lot of Hibernian fans as well that are desperate for John McGinn to leave because I believe they're entitled to 15% of any profit and then they have to share a chunk of their profit with St Mirren. So there's two teams north of the border that are desperately hoping that John McGinn leaves because they're going to be entitled to some money as well from the sell-ons that they've placed within their contracts and their negotiations. So, yeah, every time I talk about John McGinn, Hibs fans message me and say, what's happening, is he going? You know, because obviously for them, that chunk of money could be quite substantial for them to reinvest as well. So, yeah.
Well, Hibs fans and St Mirren fans, stay tuned for the very latest on Sky Sports News. Now, on the way, Bournemouth are active in the market, as are Tottenham, as they look to find a replacement for James Maddison following his ACL injury. We'll discuss that and more in a few minutes' time. Hi there, welcome back. Now, it's been a very busy 24 hours for Bournemouth. It looks like Ilya Zabani is heading to Paris Saint-Germain, and now it has emerged that Brentford are interested in signing Dango Ouattara. Mark, what are the very latest? Because there's a lot going on at Bournemouth right now.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer for Andoni Iraola, probably a summer that he hasn't really appreciated because, unfortunately for him, there's been a lot more talk about players potentially leaving than arriving. However, they've actually done some good business to replace most of the players that have left. But there is developments this morning which are quite significant as well, because Dango Ouattara is interested in a potential departure from Bournemouth over the course of this summer. He's expressed his interest at exploring his options with regards to leaving the Vitality Stadium, and that's amid interest from Brentford, who are interested in signing the 23-year-old. It's one of several clubs, actually, that have expressed an interest in trying to sign him because he's had exceptional numbers. He shows up really well on the data model when it comes to recruitment, which Brentford do use. He's a versatile player. Played a lot of the season as a false nine when Bournemouth had their injury concerns. He can play as a 10, play out wide on the left as well. He's also played at left back. So he's one of those really handy players to have in and amongst your squad because he can solve so many problems. Got pace and energy. He's only 23 years old as well, so he's got a long way ahead of him in the game. Bournemouth's stance is quite simple. They don't want to sell him. He's a key member of their first team. They paid Lorient £20 million for him in January 2023. In that winter window where they made some significant signings. So you'd have to say, look, they're not going to sell him on the cheap. He's a first-team player, so therefore it's going to have to be top dollar that gets the player out of the football club. A lot of people saying, well, is this the replacement for Wissa? Not necessarily. I think it's more the replacement for Brian Mbeumo. So it's not a simple thing. Newcastle fans will be going, oh, well, if Ouattara goes to Brentford, that means that we get Wissa. It's not that simple because actually he's the replacement for Mbeumo. So, yeah, worth keeping an eye on that situation. We know that Brentford were also interested in Amari Hutchinson as well. So they are definitely looking to recruit those forward attacking areas. But the latest we have is that there is firm interest from Brentford to Bournemouth for Dango Ouattara.
What's the very latest with Ilya Zabani? Does it look like he is going to get that move to PSG? On the flip side, it happened with when Dominic Solanke went to Bournemouth. They already had Evan Nielsen lined up, and it looks like they've done the same here if Zabani does depart.
Yeah, Bofodo Diakite of Lille. We know that Bournemouth are in advanced talks with the French side about a potential deal for Diakite. We understand it's quite a sizable chunk of cash, this one as well. He's been linked to a number of clubs in the Premier League and Europe as well, and they are open to potentially selling him. We know that Bournemouth are in the market for centre-backs. Diakite is a player they very much like, someone that can play from the back, someone that can fit into that Andoni Iraola style of football as well. So, yeah, another name to keep your eye on. And just one other line on Bournemouth as well while we're going through it. Amin Adli, Bayer Leverkusen, winger. He's got 3 years left on his current Leverkusen contract. He's another versatile player, plays a 10, play out wide. 25 years old. He's on Bournemouth's list of potential wingers they'd like to sign. Interestingly, if Bournemouth fans want to get a little look, you can go to Stamford Bridge tonight because Chelsea play Leverkusen. So if you're going to want to watch someone who potentially could be heading to the Premier League, get down to West London. But yeah, so players in, players out. Busy time for Bournemouth this summer.
Rob, there's been a lot of change at Bournemouth this summer, as Mark mentioned there. It feels like they've been ready to bring in replacements when some of those star signings have departed. But what position do you feel like they're in heading into the new season? Because it's not been ideal for Andoni Iraola.
In terms of signings and people going out, yes, it's not been ideal. You look at the number of players that have kind of gone out. But to be honest, it's a great position. Because if you think about it, 1 year ago, everybody was thinking, oh, yeah, Bournemouth, they'll be favourites to get relegated. All of a sudden, you look at how much money they brought in because of the players, the quality players they've got in. Those players have gone out. Well, Bournemouth are in a great position because they brought in loads of money for the club. And also, the other thing is, OK, who's next? Who's the next value player that they bring in, plays well, and potentially could be 40, 50 million next season? So I think that's how they kind of look at it. And people always think players going out is a real negative for the team. Sometimes it opens up the space for who's the next one, who's the next quality young player that they'll bring through again. So good position. They need to, obviously, to replace them. But I think they're in a decent position because excellent season last year. This season, OK, let's go again. Because I think they could surprise a few people because everybody's going to be thinking negatively about their outgoings. But sometimes you got to think about who's still in the building. I think Semenyo staying, brilliant. Kluivert, Evan Nielsen is another striker we haven't talked about, but I think he's got a lot of potential. So they've got quality players there already.
But when those deals are done, Mark will keep us up to date with the very latest. Now to Tottenham. Yesterday was a really difficult day for the club because they confirmed that James Maddison had ruptured his ACL. He's set to miss the majority of the season. They were then beaten 4-0 by Bayern Munich in their final pre-season friendly. Mark, how are Spurs looking to fill the void that is going to be left this season for the majority of this season by James Maddison?
It's going to be tough, isn't it? Player of his quality, personality, what he does in that final third as well, particularly with the injuries that Thomas Frank's got. Nico Paz, Como, attacking midfielder, someone that's very much on Thomas Frank's radar. There's been a lot of talk as well about Jack Grealish. We spoke about it last night on the transfer show as well. There's been an interest in him, what feels like for years and years and years. Could this be the summer where maybe they get a deal over the line? And of course, Ebra Eze as well is another player that very much is potentially on the market. Crystal Palace won't want to sell, but we understand there is that release clause of 60 plus 8 million in add-ons. Could they go and action that type of a deal with someone who is Premier League ready? But yeah, big job for Thomas Frank. He's going to have to be creative because they are really suffering with injuries.
OK, as we've got Mark and Rob in the studio together, we've managed to dig deep into the archives because despite the fact you think these two may have met for the first time today, in fact, they go back a very, very long way. And I might run a Rob, do you remember this from 14 years ago? Mark McAdam on the pitch. Who let him on there at the Cardiff City Stadium with Rob and Kenny Miller? And Mark decided to show off his acrobatic skills as well, replicating Rob's famous goal celebration. You still do that now, Mark?
If I wanted to damage myself, yeah.
Amazing. That's so good.
I was just trying to impress Ernie.
And Rob, I've seen you do a celebration in the summer. You can still do the...
The somersault came out this summer,
Did it? You can still do it?
Yeah, we had a tournament. I put the boots back on in the summer in Singapore, and the somersault came out, so... But how good is his, though?
Nah.
Well, what do you make of his clobber there as well? I think he's still got some in his scarf.
Yeah, I think his celebration was better than his clothes.
My clothes have never been any good.
But I tell you, I mean, he's gone on leaps and bounds since then.
Do you miss the playing days?
Of course, yeah. Do you know what? The thing I miss most is scoring goals. I miss scoring goals. People talk about training and the dressing room. Okay. But the one thing I really miss is scoring goals and doing the celebration as well.
And Cardiff City down in League One now. It's not quite where they've been, but how do you feel about them this season? Callum Chambers now been named the club captain.
Yeah, I mean, they played last night, drew 0-0 last night. Cardiff are in a position where it's been a lot of reflecting this summer. There's been a lot of talk off the pitch as well because there's been the potential takeover. But to be honest, there's soul-searching. It was a soul-searching summer. Started off very, very well. They're on 4 points, great win. And they've changed the philosophy. New manager, but going younger and in a good spot.
I like Brian Barry Murphy. I think he's top coach.
Well, let's wish them all the very best for the rest of the season. Good morning, transfers. That returns on Monday at 9 a.m. At midday today, the transfer shows continue with the transfer talk. We're joined by former Southampton interim manager Simon Rusk. And tonight at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m, it's the transfer show. We'll be hearing from Arne Slot in the next hour. We're back at 12.